Hi and welcome back to Sax London. This is the point of the video where Jim, with his soothing voice and dashing good looks, will explain to you what's happening in the video, but he's currently unavailable. But fret not, today I've enlisted the help of someone that's got more degrees than a thermometer. It's Aiden May. He's a classically trained musician and he's going to help us with the video today. So Aiden, what do you think makes a good classical saxophone?
I think it's a really personal question. I think everyone has their own opinions, but I think the most important thing is just the sound. And I think other things are much less important. And I think after the sound, possibly intonation is something that people are, always keen to make sure is good. But built into that as well is a certain flexibility, because we all know that all saxophones are imperfectly in tune.
But the thing is, in the classical world, you tend to find that a lot of classical musicians can be quite restricted to a few certain brands. Would you say that's fair?
I would agree. It varies from teacher to teacher, but definitely teachers have their favourites, and they really recommend particular instruments to their students.
Yeah, it tends to usually be Selma, Yanagasawa, Yamaha, sometimes Buffet, and that's about it really. Now, you could also pose the same question about mouthpieces, and it's unequivocal that mouthpieces definitely make a huge difference, right? And you have to have the right mouthpiece for classical music. But with the saxophone, we're here today to answer the question, do you actually need to stick to those brands? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blindfold this man. I'm going to give him a few different instruments and we're going to get his verdict to see if any of the other instruments work particularly well for classical. Okay, saxophone number one. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
The face mask is particularly good, actually. I bought it off Amazon last night. I shouldn't be giving them any further promotion, should I really?
No. It's got the logo on the front, hasn't it?
Other stores are available for face masks, but it is really good. You can't see a thing.
No, it's brilliant.
I bought ones previously. I bought a one with like frog eyes on it that was comical, you may have seen, but this one actually works really well. So, okay, if you want to give a few notes to go on this, I'll give you some space. Beautiful. It makes it sound so sophisticated in here. Makes it feel amazing. Wow, great playing. Okay, so give me your verdicts. I'm going to write down a few notes on my phone so we can come back to these at the end. So give me a few.
Well, earlier I said that there's a chance you'd hand me things and I would just be able to know exactly what they are off the bat. I actually don't know what this is at all.
I've chosen well.
It feels quite good. Yeah, I think the sounds, there's a real vibrancy to the sound, which sometimes I find lacking on quite a lot of modern instruments in general. There's like a real core. But it just feels that feels really good.
Okay.
The key work feels unfamiliar, but as I said, that doesn't actually. I think after a week of playing, it wouldn't matter too much.
And we should say that you play a Buffet S1 at the moment.
Yes, I play a Buffet. And you know what? I quite like this.
Okay. Should I give you a score out of 10?
Ooh.
Putting you on the spot now, aren't I?
That is a lot. Hard to say with such little playing.
Okay.
But I'd say probably actually a 7 or an 8. I do quite like it.
7 or 8. We'll go 7.5 then,
7.5, yeah.
I actually just put a poo emoji next to the 7.5 by accident. That was not appropriate. Okay, fantastic. Let's get on to saxophone number 2.
Okay.
let me come over, have a chat to you.
Okay.
Write some information down. Right, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, again, it does feel quite nice. I feel like there's something about the B below the break. I just don't.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing to manage that sound when you get the shift between the notes at the top of the low register when you get into the D in the second register, because that D is always quite sharp, and the full tube sound is so different.
So you feel the mechanics are slightly inferior on this over the one you played previously?
I don't think the mechanics. I mean the actual response of the notes and timbrally. I just think, for me, it's just not what I'm used to, and I think I'd probably actually prefer number one over this.
And the tone?
The tone generally across the rest of the instrument, I think, is really good.
Yeah. And how do you feel the tone compared to the first one as well?
Well, apart from the B below the break, that area there, I think the rest of it was okay. I don't think it had the like real core to the sound that the first one had. But this is another thing that, like, what can be impressive on first playing can sometimes be, when the novelty wears off, sometimes that can get quite annoying. So
absolutely,
it could be that with more time, maybe I'd prefer this one. I don't know.
That's a really important point to make, though, because so often when purchasing a new instrument or even just playing one, you need to grow with the instrument and you need to spend some time with it, especially with the instruments that can be a little bit more resistant. A lot of people move from a student saxophone that's very free-blowing and easy to play. They move to something like a Selma, for example. It's a bit more resistant, and then immediately it can put them off. But you spend the time with it and you get used to it and you can actually create a much more luxurious tone with something like that. So it's worth noting, it's not a completely ideal experiment, this, me just blindfolding you and throwing them in front of you, but perhaps it's useful.
I think realistically, it's not enough time. I think we all appreciate that, but no, I think what you say about growing with the instrument, because with the particular model I play, I remember when I first got it, the top C had a really weird sort of buzz or gargle to it that I just didn't understand, and then I've forgotten that was ever a problem, and I can make that sound as great as I could expect it to be.
As we said earlier, saxophones have their quirks, and so often it's about working around those quirks. I mean, look at it, look at the mechanics of it. It's unbelievable, really, that it even exists. So anyway, let's move on to the next saxophone.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds really good, and I now actually feel like slightly less confident in my judgment.
Okay,
actually,
that's good.
There's a few bits of ergonomics that I just don't quite agree with. The low B flat just feels like it's at a strange angle.
Yeah.
But no, the rest of the instrument feels really good. I think the low F, there's something strange that I don't love about the low F, but then when you get it in the second register, I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I think it's like a nice, I feel like I could work with the instrument.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there's enough sort of flexibility to move things around where I need them to be. I quite like it. I still think the first one I think is my favourite, actually.
Yeah, and actually I didn't get you to rate the last one either. So what was your rating for the last one? You rated the first one 7.5.
Yeah, I think probably a 6.
6 for the second one.
I think, yeah.
And then this one, what would you rate this?
Probably a 7.
7.
Yeah, it feels better than number 2.
Yeah. And tonally as well? You found that it gave you the right type of sound?
It's a nice sound. Actually, slightly free blowing, which is really nice sometimes. But sometimes you want something to work with.
Yeah.
But I found it. Yeah, it was very nice.
Fantastic. Okay, instrument number 4.
Are you going to give me one that I won't like?
Oh, we only sell instruments that are fantastic, so impossible.
I suppose. Slide C key is in a very peculiar position compared to what I'm used to.
Yep. Hear what you've got to say about instrument number 4.
Number 4, okay. This, I'll be honest, this one, spring tensions are a bit high.
Okay.
But this is something for all people to know, that if the spring tensions are high, obviously they can be backed off by a technician.
Well, for all people to know, you're our technician here.
I am a technician, yeah. So I'm not worried about that, but it is a bit, the spring tension's a fair bit heavier than I'd quite like it to be.
Okay.
So maybe this could come to Henry and I next week. I think I've really, the tuning and the sound on the C sharp below the break was just, I don't know, with the tuner, maybe it comes out differently, but it just didn't sit where I expected it to be.
Okay.
And it felt, the whole instrument felt good. I'd say quite blank canvas.
Okay.
I feel like it didn't. I feel like if I had to, it feels a bit bland for me.
Okay.
Rating.
Go on then.
Give me a rating. I think this might be my least favourite.
Okay.
I think this could be a 5.5.
Okay. Very, very good. Well, we'll reset the camera. I'll grab a chair because I'm currently just crouching on the floor down there. Okay. And we'll unblindfold you. So you can keep it on for now.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting.
Okay.
Did you enjoy yourself there?
Yeah, I did.
You didn't fall asleep in there?
No, not quite, although I was close when you were setting up.
It's a Monday as well, so we can be a little bit sleepy on Mondays.
Yeah.
But hey ho, here we are, and I will unveil the first instrument to you. So you said that it feels quite good. There's a real vibrancy to the sound that you don't get on many modern saxophones, a real core to the sound that feels really good. So overall, pretty positive on this one.
Yeah.
Tone King, would you like to unveil the first instrument? It was the Yamaha 875.
Cool.
Are you familiar with this saxophone?
I've played a few in my time.
Yeah. And again, this is a favourite of many classical players. This is the one in Yamaha's range that a lot of classical players tend to gravitate towards. And I think it's because it's got quite a focused sound, whereas the 82Z, the other custom model, has quite a big, broad, dynamic sound that can be a little bit too much for classical musicians. But yes, so you enjoyed it?
Yeah, really liked it. This was the one where I think that the top B in particular had a real like a sort of bright orb to the centre of the sound, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Which showing my bias, saying you don't get that on loads of modern saxophones, but I have always thought actually that I get that mostly from Yamahas nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
I wouldn't have known it was black lacquered.
There we go. Well, here's an interesting topic. Does the lacquer really make a difference to the sound? I don't think so. If you think so, you can fight me in the comments. But from my experience here, and I've done so much recording, and I've listened to so many saxophones over the years, and to me, I think it's aesthetic. I mean, what do you think? I mean, everyone's got an opinion.
I think it's mostly aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because, the main thing that's vibrating is the column of air in the instrument.
Yeah.
What's going on outside the instrument doesn't make such a huge difference. And I think no matter how well the instruments are made, there's so much variation from one to the other that you can have the exact same model. One might sound darker than the next, and I think that's the difference we're hearing more than the colour of the lacquer.
Exactly, perfect. So and you rated that one 7.5,
yes.
and that was your favourite.
I think that was
the
my
winner.
favourite. Yeah.
So the Yamaha went down very well. Right. Tone King, there is the first instrument. So the second saxophone, it feels quite nice. There's something about the B below the break. I don't know if you remember, but you really didn't get on with that.
Yeah.
The tone is pretty good. So you were a little bit placid about this one. It wasn't your favourite, and you rated it a 6. So would you like to unveil instrument number 2, which just so happens to be another black saxophone? We seem to have sold all our gold ones. And this is the Trevor James Evo. So this is the most affordable out of all the instruments we tried.
Yeah.
You didn't really get on with it, I'd say, as well as some of the others.
No.
However, it is important to note, tonally, it fits the bill though, right?
Yeah, there's no part of it that I thought was just totally sort of inappropriate for classical playing. I think that's a real misconception, is this idea that you get a particular instrument, it's like inappropriate. Yeah. I didn't feel that at all. I just didn't love the sound just below the break. Matching it up to the D over the break. I didn't have any major qualms with intonation. Yeah. So if you're looking for something that's not a sort of £2,500 plus instrument,
it would work.
Absolutely fine.
And you'd get used to those. And almost like we said earlier, when you spend time with instruments, you can get over those little quirks with some of them.
Yeah.
And it is slightly more affordable. You don't need to spend, don't need to remortgage your house to be able to buy a classical saxophone. It does come in gold as well.
Which is much more fitting.
Exactly. You turn up in the orchestra with this, you'll get kicked out and thrown out onto the streets, fed to the wolves. But anyway, so overall positive, but not one of your favourites.
Impressed for what it is, but not...
Sorry, Tone King's disappeared. Where is he? There we go. Okay, so let's move on to instrument number 3. Sounds really good. Few bits of ergonomics that you didn't agree with, but the rest feels really good. Enough flexibility for it to work, although it's a little bit free blowing. So this saxophone, I would say it's almost about as far away as a classical saxophone might be on paper, I would say. Other than maybe Ramponi and Kazani. There are actually classical players playing those, but I think mostly they feel a little bit too alien for most classical players. So this saxophone is the P. Moriat 67R. And I don't think I know one classical player that would even look at this, would they?
No.
Because they go, it's for jazz.
No.
However, it sounded great.
It sounded fine. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I wouldn't have guessed that, I think. The one thing I did think was that, as I said, it was quite free blowing, and I did think that maybe it would be something that in 4 weeks of practicing, I'd be like, this is missing something for me.
Okay.
But it sounded good.
Yeah, so when we explain sort of free blowing versus resistance, I often see many people in the comments not quite understanding what that means. Do you want to explain what that means when you find it too free blowing?
Yeah, so sometimes, basically it's about how much sort of pressure, I guess, you need to put into the air to make the instrument speak well. And there's a difference, and there's also different types of resistance, because you can have a mouthpiece that's very resistant due to its wide tip opening, but in a sense it's free blowing because it can take a lot of air. And generally when we're talking about the resistance of a bore, it feels like you can sort of come up against a wall.
And for classical, that's quite important because you want that focused, dark sound, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, people play classical saxophone on very free-blowing instruments, and they play it on very resistant instruments. I think if it's too free-blowing, sometimes really quiet entries can be can be hard to be delicate with them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just and it's just it
much.
can be unmusical, but again, it's personal preference.
Fantastic. And this one was your second favourite. You rated this one a 7, so close behind the Yamaha. And just considering how, again, on paper, how different they're supposed to be. It's quite interesting how close you found them. They weren't worlds apart, right?
No, they weren't. They weren't miles apart at all.
Yeah. Just a quick one, actually. Something quite interesting we found with brands over the years is that when someone brings out a new saxophone and they market it as a classical saxophone, it can often be a recipe for disaster because classical players, again, they like these specific things. And when brands like P. Moriarty, Ramponi, I think some others have done it over the years and said, this is a classical saxophone, no one buys it.
No one buys it, yeah.
But the thing is, I suppose this does prove, right, that these brands can certainly make good classical saxophones, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or even a jazz saxophone could be a classical saxophone, right?
And I think the fact, if you look at historical performers, look at the best players playing classical and jazz in the 1970s, most of them were playing Mark 6s because they were just, at that time, very available and they were very well made. And I don't think there's such a big difference between what's a good classical instrument and what's a good jazz or pop instrument.
Exactly. Very interesting. Right, so that's number 3. Number 4 now. In comes the Tone King Racine's hands. And number 4, right, so you didn't like the setup. So that was interesting. Struggled with the tuning and the sound of the C sharp below the break.
Yes.
So I felt that you struggled with this one a little bit. You said it did feel good. The sound was a blank canvas. You said it was your least favourite. And the rating was a 5.5.
Yeah.
Well, this is the all singing, all dancing, £7,000.
Yes.
Selma Supreme.
Okay.
Right, well, someone's not getting a Selma endorsement, are they?
No!
It is important to note at this point that with so many of these things as well, it is a personal preference as well. You know, what you find, someone else might find completely different. I feel like I need to put that in there. That many players do come in and they test this out against every saxophone we've got in the shop.
And they love it.
And undeniably, they say this is one of the best saxophones I've ever played. And of course, they'll spend a lot of money on one. Yeah. But for you today, it didn't work.
It didn't. I always find with instruments, sometimes you play an instrument and it just makes you want to play more.
Yeah.
And I just think I just didn't get that with this.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to play it.
This is what's interesting again. If a teacher had said to someone, right, it's got to be a Selma Supreme, like that's the instrument you've got to get. That's like the classical saxophone of the now. Like it doesn't get any better than that. Actually, today you preferred the P. Moriarty.
I did,
which is interesting, right?
Moriarty,
so it just goes to show that it's so important. And we're not saying like, okay, so if someone recommends to you the Selma, then the P. Moriarty is definitely going to be better. But the whole point here is that it's so subjective, right?
It's so subjective.
You've got to get hands-on with these things and try them out because someone might tell you one thing, but you come down and try it out and you think completely different, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important to note actually that we do have signatures. That I really like the Selma signatures.
Okay, yeah.
Much more than I like the Supremes.
Okay,
and that's
interesting.
So it is interesting, yeah, and yet these seem to fly off the shelves way quicker than the Maybe I've just got terrible taste.
Yeah, maybe you've just got terrible taste.
There's a chance that
there's a chance of that. Well. Fantastic. Well, I hope it's been useful, interesting, maybe a little bit entertaining as well.
Yes.
I'm sorry for Aiden here that he's now abolished any chance of any form of a Selma endorsement in the future. But there we go. Just goes to show, you've got to be open-minded to these things. If you can come on down to the store, we'd love to see you here. As you can see, we've got a huge selection of instruments here. The guys here can help you out. We can help decide what might be right for you. If you're unable to come down, pick up the phone, write us an email. We can talk through your options. And we hope to see you down here sometime soon. Thank you very much.